I would love for you to talk directly to the person listening that has a sense that they maybe have this gift too. What would you say to somebody who feels like they've had these experiences, but they don't know what to make of it and they don't know how to tap into it?
Okay, sure. This question comes up every day of my life. Um, if you think you have a gift, you already know you have a gift. There's no thinking involved. What a lot of people do, and again, this is a lot of psychology, so I know you'll be able to relate. What people fear, they don't embrace, right?
Mm.
And they don't necessarily choose to look into it because, again, it's a program. Fear is a program. And the biggest blockage of letting go is ego. Now, I don't mean ego in the sense that you think you're great. I mean ego in the sense of fear is ego, controlling, needing to control is ego, not surrendering to a higher power is ego. Just again, to clarify that for the audience, people think, oh, I don't think I have an ego. Well, we all have an ego. It's how we survive in this world, right? Not trusting is part of your ego. And then there's a healthy ego, getting washed every day, focusing, committing to a purpose. That's also the healthy ego. But getting rid of the ego. So if something is telling you on your way to work every day, you have the best route mapped out, but something is telling you make a left, don't go your usual route, do not discount that, please. That's your spirit guides or your higher wisdom of your own soul telling you, guiding you to avoid something major, right? Cancel that trip. What do you mean cancel that trip? I paid a lot of money for that. It's my 60th anniversary. I can't cancel that trip. Cancel that trip in your gut, in your solar plexus. Some people get it in their heart, like a pounding. So these are our chakra centers, the fuse box to the house where energy comes in. We have fuse boxes in our body called chakras. We all have them. They're energy centers. And this is what allows us to stay connected to the 3D earth. And it allows us to navigate how we react in this world, how we transfuse anxiety, or just so many things. Our chakras have a lot to do with it. And chakras are very much based on belief systems. So if you refuse that little voice, you're going to wish you didn't. I teach this to everyone. You cannot put faith and logic in the same sentence. It doesn't go together. Logic is what you were trying to use to, I have my business here in Boston. I have I dedicated everything here, but something's telling me to let go of it all
Yeah.
and go to the next chapter because there's something in that chapter that's waiting for you. And I always say nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's the God's honest truth. So we have to get off of the loop of everything we've always done and step out in faith. We all have innate abilities. And what I was about to say earlier is if the conscious mind does not allow you to tap in, these abilities will show up in your dream state. And why? Because the conscious mind, the guard dog, is sleeping. It's put to the side. It's not doing all the logic and the rationalization. The left brain is put to the side, and your psychic awareness will come through precognitive dreams where you have dreams of future events. Do you ever wake up and say, gee, I'm thinking of so and so. Why am I thinking of them? Something in your sleeping state was telling you to call them when you woke up.
Wow.
So I like to teach people to pay attention while you're awake.
Okay.
Allow the subconscious mind or the soul to filter through the conscious mind, even if it doesn't make sense. Something is telling you this, even if it's not a voice, it could just be a feeling, right? I work mostly on feelings, which is called clairsentience. You've heard of clairvoyance. That's
Yes.
where people could see the visions.
Yes.
Clairaudience is when they can hear the voices. Clairsentience is when you could feel something doesn't feel right. Like when you walk in a room and it looks beautiful, but it doesn't feel right. Maybe someone just had an argument in that space and you're picking up on the vibrations of
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
We do this every day. We just don't have a name for it. We just don't know. And we don't want to give ourselves so much credit, right? That's a thing. People don't like to take credit. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm like, yes, you are. I tell everyone, yes, you are.
Everybody's a medium.
Everyone's a medium. Now, a medium is not only someone who could connect to dead people. That's another misconception. A medium can just channel for the moment. For the moment. Medium for the moment. We all have done this at some point in our lives.
Give me an example of the way that you can
Oh,
be a medium in the moment.
have you ever had a conversation with a friend and they're telling you their problems?
Yeah.
Let's just say,
Okay.
talking about their husband, their relationship, their boyfriend, and you're listening, right? And you're listening with empathy, compassion, because you're a good friend. You're a decent person and you want to help people and you want to help your friends. Something tells you inside, don't even worry about it. You're not even going to be with this guy. And you say that to your friends. You say that. And they're like, what do you mean I'm not going to be with him? I don't know what it means, but you're not going to be with him anyway. Something's going to happen that will take him out of your path. So don't even worry about it. And they push you. What does that mean? What do you know? What do you know? I don't know. I just felt that. I felt that in the moment that you're not even going to be with this guy anymore. Maybe he'll die. Maybe he'll cheat on you. Maybe something. Maybe he'll get a job transfer. And you don't know what it means, but you knew you needed to say that because you felt it. Has that ever happened to you, Mel?
Of course. It's happening to me right now with somebody that I love in my life. And I'm
There you
smart enough not to really say anything because I know that'll make them cling to them tighter. I know that this is not forever. How does the other side, people who have passed on, communicate with us? Is it a language? Do they move stuff? Like, how can we tap into that?
Great question again. It's the language of energy.
Okay. And what is the language of energy if you're trying to tap into it for the first time?
Everybody's clairs, which is how you receive information, you may have a more developed clair than the next guy. Some people have problems with visualization, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, I'm not a visual person, so I can't really see that. That's why a lot of people can't meditate. When they're being walked through a meditation, a visual meditation. So I would say, well, that clair is not developed, but they have the clairsentient, which is feelings. So everyone is different in the way they receive information and which clair is more developed. So what I would say is pay attention to how something makes you feel. I am a more visual person, so when I receive information, I could like watch a movie in my mind.
Mm.
And I can tell you what's happening in that movie. A lot of spirits who didn't speak English communicate with me through a movie because the language barrier. They also can give me feelings because love is a universal feeling. So is sadness. Everybody knows what that feels like. So I would say pay attention to your strongest clair. Remember the pit in your stomach? You're feeling something and it's not right. That's why it's called the gut feeling. It's in your gut. If you get a vision of something out of nowhere, like a fire or something, pay attention to that. Why did that vision come out of nowhere? So the first thing I would say is pay attention to how things make you feel.
And be open to it being a message and guidance.
Yes, and the message doesn't always translate in the moment. Sometimes it makes sense later.
Okay.
That happens a lot because time is not linear in the other realms, or in the language of energy, I should say, or even in the quantum field. Quantum mechanics talks about energies. Time is not linear at all. So it's only linear based on our, clock and our time system, our calendar right here in the 3D. But in the quantum, it's not linear. So that's why they talk about manifestation. You put a thought out there, and based on the intensity of the belief system and the emotion, it will come back to you like a magnet. Not always. If you're having pessimistic thoughts about getting that manifestation, you just kind of canceled it out, right? So we have to release. Here's a great example. I love this example. When you go through a drive-through,
Yes.
McDonald's, wherever, Taco Bell, which hopefully you don't, but if
Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, you're getting your coffee. Okay.
you place an order through this little machine,
Yeah.
this voice, when you pick up your order, you expect it to be exactly as you gave it out.
Yes.
Same thing with the universe. You put a thought out, you expect the result to be delivered, and nothing more, nothing less. Except if it's not for the highest good of all concerned. Because the universe won't give to you and take from someone else. It's a fair universe. So it has to always be for the highest good when you ask for something.
What does that mean? What if I'm manifesting that I don't know, that my loved one uh, goes into remission?
Okay, that's a good one. If your loved one contracted for a certain exit point in this lifetime, you probably won't be able to manifest that because there's a soul contract with that loved one. I am exiting at this date, at this time, in this manner.
What is a soul contract?
It's a contract that every soul has before they come to Earth. And the contract is, well, let's talk about you.
Me?
Yeah, why not?
Oh God. Okay.
Maybe in your last life or one of your last lives you hurt some people with your power or your money or your notoriety. This is maybe hypothetical. And in this lifetime, you're like, you know what? I have to balance that because in the universe is the law of balance. There's no way around that. You could call it karma. I don't like that word, by the way, because you always think of a negative connotation when you say the word karma.
It's true.
But I like to call it the law of balance. That's why I'm known as the happy medium. Because the happy medium is a phrase that's been coined to find the balance. And if you come back here this time to balance out your soul, you're like, yeah, you know what? I have to dedicate my life to helping people, empowering people. Because I took people's power away in other times. And now I have to teach them how to get it, how to keep their power, and how to bring that into fruition this lifetime. So you're the teacher of that for people, right? So that's one of your soul contracts. Say you had a lover that died at war and he never came back. That chapter is not closed with that soul. So the contract with that soul is, let's go back and get this one right, because we had such a good thing going until you went to war, and my heart has never been the same since. But this lifetime, we're gonna write it out, and we're gonna have, you're not leaving me early, and maybe I'll leave you before you leave me. So they're just agreements, just like we have agreements here. They usually work with other souls, and it also connects to an experience you want to have. An experience you want to have. So some people say to me, I don't know where I should move. Your case was different because there was a son involved and everything else. And here's what my answer would be. There's no wrong or right answer. What experience would you like to have? There's no wrong or right answer. You have free will. Now, the experience you'd like to have will really put you on that trajectory of that soul lesson. See, your higher self has all the answers. You know exactly why you're here. You have the program downloaded inside of you, the contract, I mean. You know, when an astronaut goes into space, he doesn't go unprepared. He goes with the food, he goes with the right garments, he goes with the right vehicle. He's going on a mission. He knows what he needs to survive going into space. We know what we need to survive coming onto Earth. It's no different.
So when you become a medium in the moment and you allow yourself to lean into your intuition and your feeling, whether your power is in the visual or the auditory or the feeling, and I would put mine in the feeling category for sure, that's how you tap into that inner wisdom that's programmed in you. That's how you connect with your spirit guides and the guidance of loved ones who have passed on.
So when you pick up the phone to call anyone that you love here, you kind of do expect them to answer the call, unless they're busy.
Right.
The other side, when we think of them, we're calling them. However, they can be busy. They don't sit on a cloud with a harp.
What are they doing?
Well, they have a lot of jobs there, a lot. And it's no different than here, but most of it has to do with helping our planet. And a lot of it has to do with helping souls transition. Many people have come through to me telling me over the years, I'll give you just some examples. Maybe a young girl would come through who always wanted to have a family, a husband, and a life with children. And they never got to realize that here. But they will be working with children on the other side. They'll take the children under their wing. They'll help cross them over into the spirit world. Even though they're not children as a soul, their souls cross as children, you know, babies and whatnot. Then I have people tell me they're working with the animal kingdom because they loved pets when they were here. I have people coming through fishing because that was their favorite pastime. And they have everything we have. It's just a dimension of frequency. Here we're a dimension of physical matter. So there you can think of fishing and you can have that experience, and it's no different. It's just you don't have a physical, fishing rod, and I'll just give you examples.
It's pure energy.
It's energy, but everything physical here manifested first with an energetic thought. Think about it. Any inventions we have has been downloaded from the other side. Have you ever seen an invention and say, "Oh, I thought of that. Why didn't I patent that?"
Yeah.
I mean, I did. Some people do that. So you're like, well, that thought is going to be given to a lot of different people, but it's the one that acts upon it that's going to be the inventor.
That's so true. How many people have thought Airbnb, Post-it note, I thought of that. And you're like, well, you didn't lean into that frequency. You didn't lean into that knowing. After communicating with tens of thousands of individuals who have passed over to the other side, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
Through them, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, number one is our earthly life is a blink in the equation of eternity. It's a blink. 99 to 100 years, which is the average lifespan. We're just passing through. That's all we're doing here. That's number one. So don't sweat the small stuff because you're just here for a quick stop. This is not eternity. They always want us also to know this is not where we came from. So there is a place where we all came from. That's the place we go back to. And that's where we're reunited with our loved ones. This is just the stop on the train. A big lesson they would like to talk about is forgiveness and the scope of our um, understanding through these two little slits in our head, which are the earthly eyes. We're only seeing life with these two little eyeballs. Can you imagine? Right? It's like getting in an airplane. You see the aerial view, but when you're on the ground, you can only see what's in front of you.
Hmm.
So they'd love to talk about the bigger picture and what was keeping you in bondage while you were there on your earthly journey, that it was just a figment of your mind. It was bondage of your own thoughts. It doesn't mean it was the truth. And we're all coming to the table with programmed thoughts of limitation, because that's the program. We're all in that program. It's a matter of getting out of that program.
Well, when I think about the example of getting a message from you 3 years ago from my dead father-in-law that I needed to trust my son, and even though I didn't like what was going on at the school, he knew what the answer was, and I needed to let him make the decision, and I needed to trust it. The only thing standing in my way of embracing what I knew to be true was fear. And I think a lot about the example that you gave early on about how every other animal and sentient being on this planet operates based on instinct and vibration. They do not have language to talk themselves out of the wisdom that is programmed into them. They're running on energy and instinct and intelligence. And the only difference, and what, ironically makes us a more, quote, intelligent being than animals and sapient beings, is that we can talk and think in words, which ironically is what buries our intuition. It is what we turn to whenever we get afraid of change or of what the message that your life is trying to give you is telling you. And so it's with our words that we talk ourselves out of the magic and the possibility and all of the messages that I think our higher self and our spirit guides are trying to give to us. If you were to say to somebody, like, there are two things that you can do in order to start to strengthen your connection to your inner wisdom, to your higher self, to the messages that are all around you every single day, what would those one or two things be that you want people to do beyond just like pay attention to the feeling? Is there anything proactive that somebody can do to start to develop this medium in the moment skill that you're talking about?
Absolutely. Sure. I love how you just reworded everything. That was perfect. And how true it is. The left brain is the logic mind. So we have to move into the right brain. That's where the higher wisdom comes from, the downloads, the intuition, the connection to the higher realms, which is the right brain. Meditation is number one. I am not a person that goes into some kind of organized meditation in a yogi position. I don't do any of that. You can meditate by walking on a beach without your phone, of course, like just you with your own thoughts. Sometimes pushing the thoughts out and just allow yourself to be. You don't have to do anything where you sit there with your eyes closed. I take a nice hot bath. That's my form of meditation. And I just sit alone with my thoughts, and I just allow for the gratefulness and the thankfulness. That's the number one thing you could do to open up your heart chakra. Because the way to get to that right brain and to that wisdom is only through the heart. Oh, never through the mind, ever. It's only through the heart. So I encourage my students to work on their heart chakra. And, and when you work on the heart chakra, thankfulness, gratefulness comes from there. Forgiveness comes from there. You don't have to forgive the act of the person, but just allow for the forgiveness to understand that that person's working off a program. And that's not a healthy program that allowed them to do that to you, whatever that might be. So we have to start to look at people as souls rather than harmful human beings. Souls with a program, and everyone's program is different based on their childhood, blah, blah, blah. I won't get into all that. But the heart chakra is the gateway. That's the way to God, to the higher minds. The heart chakra can be opened with compassion. Do some volunteer work. See how your life is in comparison to the less fortunate. Help others, it helps you. When you help others, it helps you feel like you have a purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, make that your purpose, is to help someone. Help an animal. Help someone who cannot help themselves. That's another way to the heart chakra, right? Allowing for forgiveness, compassion, empathy, gratefulness, joy. Joy is huge. Did you ever find anybody that you know that didn't work from the heart with joy? Not really. They're working from their lower chakras, which is fight or flight. There's also something that I love, and it's so much fun, and people could do this with their children. Children, before they've been indoctrinated by this world, their gifts are just so highly vibrating, and they don't have that mindset to kind of talk them out of it. So what I would do is take an object of someone you know.
Okay.
It could be a living person, a deceased person. Energy is still there. That's why when they look for people that are missing, they give the psychic a piece of the person's clothing, because it's holding energetic vibrations. So take an object of someone and give it to someone as an exercise. And let's just say it's your grandmother's ring. Let's just say hypothetically, but they can be a living person too. And you know everything about your grandmother. Let's just say she was a baker, and she was a singer, and she worked in the church. The person holding on to the ring of your grandmother, it's called psychometry. It's a real thing. That's a psychic exercise. Just write down the impressions that you're receiving. So without thinking, don't think yourself out of it. If you see a color, if you feel a feeling, if you're watching a movie and you see, write it down. Give every single piece of information you're receiving. Remember, you're the receiver now. You will read the note paper, and you will see most people are very intuitive without them knowing it. I love to prove to people how intuitive they are. That's one exercise that I use with my students, is show them how intuitive they are by holding something that has a vibration. And everything has a vibration. Everything's living being. And it doesn't have to be like a relic or anything special. It could be anything. It could be clothing of a living or a deceased person.
You know, I had something happen the other day, and I am still marinating in the meaning of what happened. It was my 27th wedding anniversary, and my husband and I were coming back for dinner, and it was dark, and it was pouring rain. And we were having this conversation about spirituality. My husband is a death doula, and he is getting his master's right now in spiritual psychology. And so we're having this conversation. We come up over this hill, and Kim, all of a sudden we see this massive bird fly down onto the road and, try to like grab a mouse or whatever in its talons. And there was a car in front of us. And as the bird came up, the car hit the bird. And the bird went tumbling, and I yelled, "Chris!" And we hit the brakes, and I jumped out of the car, and there were a couple other cars behind us. And I mean, it was pouring. And so it was this very like cinematic out of body experience because I'm in the pouring rain, dressed in my high heel boots because I had come from my anniversary dinner. We're up in the mountains in Vermont. I'm stopping traffic, and there in front of me, through the headlights and the pouring rain, is an owl. And its wings are splayed out, and one of the wings is bent backwards. And I run over to it, and it's an adult barred owl. And it was kind of face down with its belly on, and I'm just drenched, and the water's coming down, and the headlights are coming through, and there is no thoughts in my mind. It was like a pure spiritual download. And the guy in the car behind Chris and I said, I have a towel in the car. Let me grab it. And as I stood over this bird going, it's okay, buddy. We got you. His head, like how an owl's head can turn all the way around, turned from the road all the way backwards. And this owl held eye contact with me for probably 25 seconds. And
gosh,
the towel came. I swooped him up. I don't even know what I was thinking because I wasn't thinking about his talons or his beak or anything. I just swooped him up like a baby and swaddled him. And then I held him in my arms for 30 minutes as we drove home. Because, one of his wings was, and he didn't move. Now, clearly he was in shock. But to me, I feel like that was a profoundly psychic, spiritual experience. And to your point, I have no clue what it means, but I know at some point I will.
How's the owl doing now? Do we know?
Yeah. We called my vet, and then my vet told us about this incredible rescue organization in Woodstock, Vermont, and they told us what to do with him overnight. We put him in a dark area in a laundry basket with the towel with the lid on top. They came the next morning, and he's going to be okay. They're not going to be able to release him, I don't think, back into the wild, but he will survive.
So, as you know, owls represent wisdom. That's, well, I keep hearing as you're telling me this. Wisdom. Higher wisdom, too. That's why an owl can turn its head. It sees everything. It's like a 360 view and aerial view and bigger picture. I think it's very representative. And, I mean, bravo to you for doing what you did. Many people might not have done that. But your car was targeted, and I take it as there's this new, especially what you just said about Chris, and this new chapter opening up of the higher wisdom coming in, maybe with him, maybe with you, maybe with both of you. But I definitely feel something is a new chapter regarding, I guess, everything we're speaking about today.
Yeah.
With you and Chris.
Totally.
Especially Chris. I mean, that's amazing what he's achieved. And he's definitely has to be doing that from the heart chakra. You can't be a death doula without feeling all kinds of emotions on a daily basis.
You know how there are those of us that say that we are, empaths, and you just absorb what everybody else is feeling, and you can have your energy drain. Is that a form of being a medium, that you're absorbing? Like, you heard all those voices, Kim, where, hey, Kim, it's Lisa. Can you get in touch with my mom? Hey, Kim, it's Michael. I'd like to talk to my daughter. Is being highly empathic, is that a form of downloading messages, not only from other people that are physically in front of you, but from people that have passed over?
Absolutely, yes. Because you're like a sponge. And a lot of what I call psychic vampires, which could just be regular everyday people, those are the victims, those are the narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
They always are drawn to empaths because they know that we're easy prey. So I would say empaths without good boundaries could be dead in the water, literally, energetically. You can, yeah, they can leave you for dead energetically if you
Yeah.
allow them. I also am working on a book like ethics of mediumship,
Oh.
and also the dangers of mediumship. And again, to answer your question, there are dangers of mediumship because you are connecting with a higher frequency, and the medium must raise their vibration in order to, and the spirit world lowers their vibration. As you can imagine, when they don't know how to control their vibration or emotions on the other side, they can allow the medium to be very anxious because they're vibrating really quickly and they're hanging around my aura. So a lot of mediums have anxiety and they don't even know what that anxiety is. But a lot of the times they're natural born mediums and they're picking up on the vibration, and they have to have strong boundaries and say, whoever is around me, you need to calm down because you're making me anxious. This I was calm 1 minute ago and now I'm not. And that goes with getting in a crowded plane or train. When you're around people in a concerts, if you start to feel anxiety, you very well could be picking up on all these people's energy coming into your space. So you definitely have to do some protective psychic work. I talk all about that, putting the bubble around you and learning how to protect your own aura and your own space. And using your voice chakra is also, and I know you teach a lot about boundaries, Mel. That's huge. When your voice chakra is underdeveloped, you don't speak your truth. You're a
Hmm.
people pleaser. You are afraid to hurt anyone's feelings because then you think they won't like you. Then you're not living your truth and you're not speaking your truth. And then you can get thyroid issues, you can get all kinds of vocal problems, and you can get asthma or feeling like you can't breathe. It's all connected to the proper chakra. That's why, when they speak about heartbreaks, literally, you can die of a heart attack because of the impact to the heart chakra. So it's all connected. And yeah, empaths have to really be careful about people taking their energy because there's that phrase, don't take my kindness for weakness.
This was about 14 or 15 years ago. So we're talking 2007, 2008, correct?
Mhm.
In my opinion, Jamie Kern Lima is the reason why we have this real beauty movement. There always has to be the first person, and she was it. So when you look around the internet and social media and you see people doing naked faces, that was not something people did in 2007. It was all airbrush. It was all perfection. That was the beauty standard. There were no plus size or curvy models. That was
Mhm.
not a thing back then. And so you've got a woman who is sitting in Seattle, who has no experience and no money, deciding that she is going to not only figure out how to create a makeup line for people who have issues with their skin, but that she's going to do something nobody has ever done, which is put real, normal people like you and me into her campaigns when she finally gets this figured out. And she's going to show people what her skin actually looks like in order to sell it. I mean, that was a revolutionary idea. She was the first. And I'm telling you this because you could be the first. You have something inside of you that is a problem, something that you can solve. And you could be the first to change the way that people think about an issue. And so, Jamie, let's pick up the story because how do you go from this aha moment, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to doing something? Because I
Yes.
think some of us have aha moments, right?
Yep. And then we
But we
doubt
don't
him.
do anything.
Yes, because we doubt him. We
Yes.
doubt him. We think like, oh, someone's already done it.
Yes.
Or oh, whatever. First of all, if you're out there right now and you think, oh, you have an idea or a way you want to show up in the world or someone else you want to help, but you think, oh, someone's already done it. Literally, there's only one of you in the entire universe, which by definition means no one has ever done it the way you're going to do it. So
Mm.
when I launched this,
Say that again, Jamie, for the people that are like, whoa, 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 kids, calm down. Wait, Jamie just said something. I was doing my dishes. Say that again. Talk about the fact that this matters.
This is huge because I think the biggest reason we talk ourselves out of things is we think, oh, someone's already done it.
Yes.
Someone's already done it before, who must be smarter than me or more talented or more whatever it is than me. And what I have learned and then proven, and I want to tell you too about I'm going to get so excited, Mel, because no, when you do this thing, like, don't be shocked then when there's millions and millions of rejections and people don't get it, right? Because it's never been done before, right?
Oh,
Because
yes.
there's only one of you. There's only one of you doing it the way you're going to do it. But just to recap that, there is literally only one of you in the entire universe, right? And so if you are going to show up to this world authentic, that means whatever you do, if it's authentic to you, it's actually by definition, it's never been done before, right? And so when you show up that way, don't be surprised if not everyone gets it right away. Or, in my case, all the experts I put on pedestals all said no. That this idea of how I wanted to connect with women, they thought it wouldn't work and they thought I wouldn't therefore make them any money.
But can I ask you a question
Yeah.
real quick? How did you go from the aha
Yes.
to starting? So what did
Yes.
that look like? Like, because I
Yep.
think like if you're in this space where, let's just use an example. You've never actually, you don't know the first, you have this thing about catering that you
Yep.
just can't get it out of your head. You want to do these events. You've never actually done this because you had never
Yes.
done anything with makeup. You had
Yep.
no idea what you were doing.
Yep.
You have an idea and you have an aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first thing that you did to start to make this real?
So leaning on that, why I had to do it and why
Mhm.
it felt like it was going to be part of my purpose was a
Mhm.
big thing that helped me actually take the risk, quit my job.
Wait, you
And
quit your job because you had an aha moment?
yeah, it was deep. I was like, if I had
What did it
all,
feel like?
it felt like, if I didn't do it, I would wake up the rest of my life with this pain in my gut, this longing, knowing I was created for more. It felt like if I didn't do it, I would have the pain of regret. And
Mm.
if I did do it, I might have the pain of failure and maybe the pain of embarrassment and then maybe the pain of, oh, wow, that doesn't feel like it went how I thought it was. I knew it was this big risk. I
Yeah.
knew I was leaving what I thought was my dream job.
Why did you have to
Um,
quit your job? Just curious.
it was literally from day one, I was all in. Like I dove all in. I knew if I was going to do this, I needed to just go all in on it. I started, I do not recommend this, but I started working like 100-hour weeks from the beginning. I was so freaking passionate about it. Like I couldn't stop thinking about what if I can actually figure this out? What if I can literally, because it became a
So
big
did you have
dream.
any savings? Like, do you have a little bit of
Very
savings?
little
Because you didn't
savings.
pay yourself for the first 3 years that you did this.
First 3 years. So basically, my husband and I wrote this business plan, right?
Yep.
Quit our jobs, dove all in our living room. We poured all of our savings into it. I thought, Mel, and this is for someone watching us right now. I know this. I thought if I can figure the product out, it's going to be huge.
Right.
And then I realized, like, oh, being an entrepreneur or launching a dream is not always that easy. We poured every penny we had into it, and once we actually created a product, and we were scrappy. If you
And
want to
how
know
did you
how,
create a product? Like, are you in your
yeah.
kitchen buying stuff at the grocery store, or how does this even work?
Okay, so no, so so first, I love that technology is right there, right? So researching how are makeup formulations made, who makes them, what are the FDA regulatory compliance, all the unsexy stuff I know nothing about. Just diving into the research phase of how does this happen, and then what I learned is that manufacturers are makeup companies' closest held secrets, right? Like closest held secrets. They won't disclose who they work with, but a
Hmm.
lot of these big manufacturers work with all the top brands that you see or a handful of them.
Gotcha.
So I
So,
started,
so are you saying that all of the brands and top brands that you see are basically manufactured by a handful of companies?
yes,
Okay,
handful of
got it.
companies, and then some do it in-house as well.
Gotcha.
So what I did was scrappy. I walked into a Sephora. I wrote down the name of every single brand in there, went home. I had no money, right? Cold call every single brand and saying like, "Oh, I'm looking for a really great manufacturer. Could you let me know who you And then they hang up on me. You know what I mean? One after another, after another, after another. And I got this really small brand in a totally different kind of positioning where the girl who answered said, "Oh, here's who we use. They're in New York City, blah, blah, blah." So that was my first manufacturer. Reached out to them, had a meeting in person, had no money, poured this idea out to them. They took a risk making me samples. And that's how it started, was just really being scrappy, and trying to figure it out. All of our money had went into the product development formula and the
Yep.
advisory board of the product.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, now we have a product that works for me, right? This was after hundreds of formula iterations. I thought that was going to be it.
So is this like year 1 or year 2? Like, how long did this take?
Yeah, it took a good first year to get
Okay.
that product. And then what I started doing was sending it to everyone I thought was just going to believe in me instantly. So I sent it to Sephora and Ulta Beauty and all the department stores and all of the online retailers, QVC, which is, live television shopping channel. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge. Every single one of them said no after no after no after no. And to your point, it became 3 years of not being able to pay myself, 3 years of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's, of crying myself to sleep at night.
Were you and your
Um,
husband like fighting like crazy? Like, you should go back to work. You should, but why do we do that? Like, were you like doing
you
that?
you wanna know what it was? We
Yeah.
still believed in it, but we weren't sure how we were gonna make it. It was, like, friends and family that were like, wait, you quit your job? Are you sure you should have quit your job?" Or, "Wait, you still haven't made any money? Like, it's been 3 years," right? So you hear all of this, the voices get so loud.
Yeah.
The loudest, though, were my own self-doubt. Sometimes we take a chance and go for something because our gut is telling us to do it, and then all of a sudden you face all this opposition and you start to question, is my gut wrong? Is my knowing wrong? And there were so many times where I would literally get this another brutal no from, Sephora or QVC or whoever it was, and I would just literally cry myself to sleep. I would pray about it and be like, God, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this, but nothing is going right.
So let's just pause in that moment because I get a lot of questions from listeners who, because of the things that have happened in their past,
Yeah.
they don't know how to trust their intuition.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of questions about decision making and how to truly, in a situation like this, where you are burning through your entire life savings,
Yeah.
you have left your dream job, you have gotten no after no after no after no after no. How do you stay connected to your intuition in a
Mhm.
situation like that?
Mhm.
What tool do you have or what advice can you give to somebody who's having trouble hearing what the right decision is
Mhm.
in that kind of situation?
Yeah. So I think that intuition is like a muscle that we build
Mhm.
over time. And I think it's a lifelong journey that, to really learning how to hear it and to trust it. And one of the greatest tools, I think, is to go back, think back to times in your life where maybe you had this gut feeling to do something and everyone around you said, don't do it. So you listen to them, you didn't trust yourself, and then think about what happened. Right. And then similarly, go back to a time where everyone was like, "Oh, no way, no way." And you're like, "But I love him. I don't think he's lying. I think his phone really did break 5 times every weekend. He didn't disappear his phone." Like, right, think about, like, that situation when everyone was telling you something and you didn't listen, or even your gut was telling you, right? And you didn't listen, and you think back to those times and you start to develop pattern recognition
Mm.
of how it felt in moments in your life when you trusted yourself or didn't, and what happened. And you get better attuned to what that feels like. So,
What does it feel like for you
I
in both
feel,
situations? Like, can you describe what it feels like for you when you're like, "Yep, no, that's a no." And what
yes.
does it feel like for you when you're like, "I'm sticking with this"?
Yeah. Often it's the tiniest of feelings in my gut, right? Some people describe it as like a still small voice. I pray about it. I ask God to give me the answers and I try to live the answers.
Do you feel the answers that God gives you? Like, is that what happens for you when you do this?
Like right now, when I look at you, right?
Yeah?
Like I know you're a beautiful soul, right? I just know it. You know it. You feel it. Like I feel like you have good, like you're good. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
feeling, right? And we get these feelings, but so much around us is so loud.
Hmm.
You know, and we just learn over time. And by the way, not to go, this could be a whole other episode, but especially as women, from the time we're young, we learn not to trust ourselves. We walk in to our parents fighting and we go, "Is everything okay?" They're like, "Everything's great. Everything's great." Right? To protect us, we start to learn to
You're like,
doubt ourselves.
baloney. Yep.
Right? But
Uh-huh.
or, especially as young girls, you learn to make decisions by consensus
Mm.
often with your friends,
Or
and you
making other people happy.
making other people happy. People pleasing. We're rewarded for pleasing everyone else, and almost ignoring what we feel. So if you're someone who's an adult right now going, I don't even know how to hear my own gut or trust myself. That's why we've been trained out of learning how to do it, right? So it takes intentionality and really deciding, oh, you know what? I'm going to put in some time, even if it's 5 minutes a day, just to thinking about moments in my life where I trusted myself, where I didn't. Um, and if you don't remember any of them, start now.
You know what you just inspired me to think about?
Hmm.
I don't even know if it's possible to do this, but imagine if you could go through the rest of today and only make decisions that align with what you truly want. If you
Yes.
don't want to go to that party tonight, don't go. If a friend asks you something and you feel obligated out of guilt to lend them that thing, don't actually lend them the thing.
Yeah.
Eat what you want to eat tonight for dinner. Don't just go to wherever your friends want to go. Like, I think that would be a real eye opening experiment if you were to do that.
And you start building that muscle, right? And the more you do that, some people don't even pay attention to what they actually want to eat for dinner. They're just like, what sounds good to everyone? But to your point, when you start paying
Hmm.
attention, then you also start building that knowing of hearing your own knowing.
Do you think it's possible to discover your unique purpose in life if you are not connected and listening to your intention and intuition? I mean,
And your own intuition. Here's how I think it's way more likely, and you're gonna actually discover more than one purpose
hmm.
often if you're really tuned in to your intuition, and you're intentional about it. But what I'll say for someone who feels like they can't hear their gut, but they still want to find their purpose, a friend of mine, Rory Vaden, says that you're best positioned to serve the person you once were, right? Trent Shelton, our friend, says one day the things you're going through right now will be the things you made it through.
Yeah.
And what I would say to someone listening right now is look at something in the past that has broken your heart, that has caused you grief, that has been something that you care deeply about, whether it's
Hmm.
positive or negative, that you've gone through, something you care deeply about, or maybe pain you've gone through, something you have made it through. I believe often when we go through the hardest times in our life,
Yep.
it's for one of two reasons.
What are they?
It is to either equip us with the strength we need to carry the weight of our success that's to come, to
Hmm.
carry the weight of our purpose that's to come, or we've gone through these horrible, unspeakable times, things we would never want to happen to us again in our life, because we're actually going to get our greatest source of fulfillment and purpose by one day helping someone else who's going through them.
I
And
love that saying that you're best equipped to help the person you used to be.
yes,
After doing something so extraordinary, and you also have made a huge difference in women's lives around the world because you are extraordinarily philanthropic. $40 million worth of product and monetary donations to people that are struggling with cancer. And what is next for you?
mm,
Because you are right now in the middle of figuring out on this next leg of the journey called life what your purpose is
mhm.
and what your next thing is going to be. What tools are you using or how are you thinking about it? And it's really important topic because So many people, particularly after the last 3 years, have had a profound life change thrust on them.
Yes.
And they're looking ahead at an open road, wondering what their purpose is going to be, what they're going to do. Can you just speak to that person for a minute about
Mhm.
how you're going about figuring it out?
Yeah. So, one thing I just want to remind everyone too, Mel, because I think people put so much pressure on themselves that their purpose has to be their job or their
Hmm.
next job. And a lot of times we can be doing a job that's fine. And maybe for family reasons, we need that health coverage and we need that paycheck and your purpose can be found in the things you do outside of that, right? There's a lot of ways to listen to that knowing and your gut and then when it feels right, you know that's aligned with who you're born to be
Mm-hmm.
and how you're born to show up in the world. And so for me right now, there's that famous saying, just because you can, should you, right? There's
Mm.
a big part of me now with all these, could I go launch a bunch of businesses? Yes. Right? And what I feel drawn to is literally because here's the deal. Yes, I've built a $1 billion business. Yes, I have other companies that I invest in.
You
But
also are married and you have two beautiful children,
yes, a
and
2-year-old and a
you're
4-year-old.
incredibly devoted to your family.
Hmm. Well, and here's the thing is like that's all part of my story, but when I look at my real story, it meaning the part that ties deeply to my purpose, like my real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to
Mm.
learning how to. And so when I wake up in the morning and I think about the things I've done so far, the things I hope for my kids for, and how I built a $1 billion business, it was really through seeing women, helping them see themselves
Mm.
and believe in themselves and believe they are worthy and enough. And that's what fires me up every morning. So when I think about what I'm stepping into next,
Yeah.
I wrote Believe It, which is about my book about how to go from underestimated to unstoppable, donated all the proceeds. I'm donating all the proceeds from that 100%. I funded
Hold
leadership.
on, hold on. Let's just underscore that. So she writes a New York Times bestseller, donates all the proceeds from the book
Yeah.
to nonprofits. Just donates them.
Yeah. And the book is just,
It's
from,
incredible.
thank you.
It's like a little manual that you should have on your bedside table because Jamie will be smiling at you
Yes.
and you'll see that you're not alone, that we're in this together. And her example of learning how to go from doubting herself to believing in herself is the journey that each and every one of us is on.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of in this soup of knowing that this is the area where you want to focus the impact, but you're
Yeah.
not being a very, very, very good friend of yours. I know that you're not, it's still a fuzzy target, so to speak, as
Mm,
our friend Dean would say, it's a fuzzy target. If somebody kind of has a sense that there's something more, but they don't quite have they haven't had that aha moment yet that you
yeah.
had almost 14 years ago sitting on that television set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make makeup and I'm gonna bring real women and I'm gonna show my skin and I'm gonna
Yeah.
solve this problem. I'm gonna make people think that they're beautiful because they are beautiful no matter what their body. And you did it. You did it. But if you're in the soup and you
Yeah.
don't have the vision yet, is there an exercise or something that you would recommend that we all do while we're waiting for that clarity and that epiphany to strike?
Yeah. Two things. One, waiting for it to be perfect can be the lowest vibration, biggest excuse.
Mm.
Number one reason why people just never try and never get started. So I think it's rare to ever have complete clarity. Like this is exactly perfect for it. And that's why, I think two things. I think just taking a step and seeing how it feels is good, tuning into your knowing. I also think, Dean, so you mentioned our friend Dean who was saying it's a fuzzy target. he was saying something to me recently about, almost like when you're about to aim a bow and arrow and you're about to let go of the arrow. He's like, you can aim and turn it and twist it a few times before you let go of the arrow. It's okay to wait a little bit and just make sure you're going to aim at the right thing.
Mm.
And so this year, for example, I've kind of been doing that. I've been saying, how do things feel? I have the gift and blessing of being here with you right now,
How does this feel?
saying, feels amazing.
So does this mean
I love
you're going to
you.
do a talk show?
Maybe you could teach me all the ropes, Mel, and then yeah, but
Hardly. I am a failed talk show host.
okay. Don't even you
That
want
is true.
this is
My
a
talk show got canceled.
mm-hmm
Why?
mm-hmm.
Because,
I can tell you why. Go ahead.
well, I was going to apply the lessons from Professor Purpose, but I'd like to hear you tell me why.
I think our steps are ordered. Why? I think because you are going to own all of what you're doing and make it so much bigger than anyone else who owned it could have made it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So, by that definition, I think you're the most successful talk show host. That's the first thing. Um,
At least in the podcast it is.
but no, I think it's all going to be the same. I think a show is a show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The world's changing so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love too that you can do this show on your terms,
It's true.
right? You can do it on your terms. And that's why it is so huge, because it's on your terms.
Well, like you, and maybe this is one of the reasons why we have become such dear friends in such a short period of time. And I often say on the show that I truly believe that the best years of your life and the best friendships that you'll have are on the road ahead.
Mm.
But a lot of the reason why we connected so profoundly, even though we are different in many, many ways,
Yeah.
is that it goes back to the Denny's waitress. Like at my core, I am still the waitress making money, waiting tables at the Red Rooster Tavern on Scenic Drive in North Muskegon, Michigan. Same as you, stalling because the fryer has now broken and the fried perch is not coming out. And I'm talking to the tourists from Chicago and I'm treating everybody kindly. And I know that all I want to do is impact people's lives that are just got their head down and they don't feel very seen or heard. And I want to make them know that they have it within them to tap into this incredible power inside them to create whatever they want in life.
Yes.
And it starts with believing
Yes.
that you can and having somebody like you on who has demonstrated that is really
Yeah.
important for people to hear.
On that topic of friendship, I love so much that you are the friend that people need to your audience. Like, and what I mean by that, and I'm honored to be the friend for this episode with you to everyone. And what I mean by that, Mel, is I think you and I love each other for who we authentically are. The Denny's waitress, the Red Rooster waitress, right? And we also are friends that help pull each other into who we're
Yes.
becoming.
Yes.
And I think so often, and that's why I love, and your show also, as you know, of course, but I just want to call it out that your show can be this for people who feel like, how do I find those friends that help pull me into my future? Because so often the people around us, while they might mean really, really well and love us dearly, pull us into our past, or for their own comfort zone, want us to stay the person we were or are. And it's so important, because we're talking about purpose,
Yeah.
to try and add friends to your circle who truly want the best for you, not just what they think is the best for them in you, but like want the best for you. And you do that for me. I do that for you.
Yes.
This show, your show, I know does that for people as
Yes.
well. And so honored to be part of that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just highlight one final thing, and then I have a surprise to tell you listening to us right now. Yes, we have a surprise for you. It's really exciting with Professor Purpose over here. And I'm having like a menopause moment where like the drawbridge is open in my brain and now the drawbridge is not closing and connecting the dots on this profound thing that I wanted to say. So let me see if I can
Everything you say is
order this.
profound.
Hardly, but I appreciate you saying that. I think one of the things that I've learned, and it took me a long time to learn this, is that there is so much success and happiness to go around.
Mm.
And when you lift other people up
Yeah.
and you reach out for help, that your success comes faster and it's richer,
Yes.
both emotionally and in terms of monetarily. And I just remembered what I wanted to say, and it's this. And it goes back to purpose. It goes back to that knowing and staying connected to your intention and this unique thing that you have to give to the world. It is not only your responsibility in life to stay connected to your knowing,
Mm.
it is your responsibility to advocate for it because only you have seen it in your heart and mind. Of course, your family says no. They don't even know what you're talking about because they only know the person that you've been in the past.
Mhm.
Of course, the investor is going to say no. Why? Because they only know what they know. Your knowing is yours,
Yeah.
and you have to stay connected to it, and you have to keep describing it or advocating for it or explaining it to people so that they can see it too. And it's not until you demonstrate what you see in your own heart and mind by continuing to walk toward it, continuing to talk about it, continuing to believe in it, that it will become a reality. And that's why people say no,
Mm.
because it's your knowing,
Mhm.
not theirs. And
Mhm.
so, in a weird way, a ton of no's or a lot of friction or bumping up against things as you're trying, and you can't understand why don't people get this? Why isn't this working? It's because it's your knowing, not theirs. All right, so today's my 52nd birthday. And normally on my birthday, I wake up excited because I feel like I've just been handed a clean slate and the opportunity to create a brand new year. And I spend the day reflecting on the last couple of years, and I spend the day brainstorming about what I want to create this year. And this year is not a normal year. I did not wake up feeling excited. I woke up feeling lost. Because as I thought back over the last few years, it's been an incredible adventure, but I've experienced a tremendous amount of change in my professional and personal life that has just knocked me on my knees. From losing my daytime talk show, to having my book contract rescinded, to having the speaking business basically implode until at least another year from now, to not being able to be with you face to face, to not being able to work with my team face to face. I just got rocked. And then on top of it, our son wanted to go to high school in Vermont. And so we are in the process of moving from the home that we've been in for over 20 years and raised our kids up to a very small town in southern Vermont where I know very few people and I feel very disconnected. And the result of all this is I feel stuck in between two lives. My old life, which has ended, and a new life that I have yet to create for myself. And when I look ahead to the future, I feel overwhelmed, I feel lost, I feel disconnected. In some ways, I feel like I don't even know who I am because I feel so disconnected from the things that make me feel alive and happy. Oh my God. I was really lost. I mean, just hearing 52-year-old me sound like that, so sad, it just puts a pit in my stomach. Oh my God. And look, I can kind of laugh about it now because I'm on the other side of this thing. But when you're in it, it can be overwhelming. If I could go back in time and talk to the 52-year-old me, here's what I would do. I would say, first of all, that's a lot. You should have a good cry. Then I would give Mel a big, huge hug. Because in moments like that, we need reassurance. But then comes a tough love. I'd be like, look, Mel, you got to remember who you are. You can face this. And then I would drop this quote on her. Hey, woman, if you want to fly, you got to give up the shit that weighs you down. Toni Morrison said that, and boy, ain't that the truth. You got to give up the shit that weighs you down. And a lot of times, at least with me, what's weighing me down, it's my own attitude. And I know you can relate to that. I just hate that saying. It is what it is. No, it isn't. It is what you make it to be. The fact is, there is always something you can do to make yourself feel just a little bit better. And when you do something that makes you feel a little better, no matter what's going on, that boost in your mood, that boost in your attitude, it is essential to helping you face any challenge and improve any situation. And even though in that video I felt lost, there were 3 things that I did and that I continued to do over the past 2 years and that I continue to do now, all of which is rooted in research to pick myself back up and face the mess that my life had become. And more importantly, to start doing the work to create the life I wanted. I believe that you are capable of changing. I do. I've just seen too much evidence over the course of my career. Amazing changes that people just like you and me have made. So I know you're thinking, well, this is great, Mel, but where do I begin? So step number 1, you begin by making a wish. Just like that moment on your birthday when you close your eyes and wish for something to come true in this next year of your life. Right now, do the same. Close your eyes and think about the next year of your life. What do you want the next year of your life to look like? Begin by making a wish. That's how I began 2 years ago. Yep, my business was upside down, kids were in shambles, my husband was struggling with depression, and I was struggling with everything. I had to create a break from that moment of pain and allow myself to see something different. At the time, I had no idea what the new chapter of my life would be or could be. Here's what I did know. I don't want to stay in this one. And that's all you need to know. All you need to know is you don't want to stay in the place that you're in right now. That right there is a wish for something better. If you know what you don't want, it's very easy to change. As soon as you start removing or letting go of things that aren't working, you'll see all new possibilities. So let's go back to that video that I made on my 52nd birthday, because once I laid it all out there, I instinctually laid out the 3 steps I was going to take. I made a wish. I identified some things that I could do that would make me feel a little better. And I also changed my attitude. And if I can do it, so can you. So let's go back to the rest of that video from my 52nd birthday. And you're about to hear 52-year-old Mel wipe away the tears and start taking action. Here are the steps I'm going to take. Number 1, self-awareness is critical. So recognizing that you feel lost or disconnected or suspended between your old life and your new life, overwhelmed, whatever you feel, it's so important to name it. Because when you name it, you bring it out of the feeling in your body and out into the world, and then you can do things to tame that feeling. Number 2, the most important thing that you should do is move your body, because all this negative emotion is trapped in your body right now, and it's only through exercise and motion that you'll move it out of your body and you'll change your emotional state. So I am going to go put on an exercise tape and work up a sweat. Will that solve all my problems? No, but it will put me in a better emotional state so that I can think more clearly and more optimistically and start to see solutions. Number 3, the best advice about happiness is happy people do things that make them happy. And so after you move your body and you change your emotional state, do one thing that makes you happy. And for me, I'm going to go out and buy myself some beautiful flowers. I've been doing a lot of writing this morning, just dumping all my thoughts onto paper. And I think journaling out your thoughts is a really important thing to do when you feel stuck or overwhelmed or suspended. And then finally, continue to remind yourself that this is temporary. This is temporary. This moment is temporary. These feelings are temporary. This feeling of stuckness and overwhelm is temporary. Oh, ooh. Oh. Those sneezes are temporary. And I think the biggest thing about that mantra, that this is temporary, is so is your life. And maybe that's why birthdays are overwhelming, because they always make you think about the timeline of your life. And so after you become self-aware and you move your body, which moves your emotions, and you do something simple that makes you happy, and you dump all your thoughts on a piece of paper, Remind yourself that this is temporary and force yourself to start dreaming again. Because when you give up on your dreams, you give up on yourself. And I think that's one of the reasons why I woke up feeling lost today. When I look ahead, I don't see anything I'm looking forward to because I haven't created something new to look forward to. And that's the secret. How you're feeling right now is a function of what you see in the future. And if you see overwhelm and a blank page and nothingness, that's how you're going to feel right now. And so I want you to dream big. I want you to put something on that paper that's out in that future, that calls to you, that gives you something to look forward to go for. That's how you will pull yourself out of it. And that's how I'm going to pull myself out of this too. So that's my birthday message. Not really inspiring. It's authentic and it's real because this is where I am right now. And I also know that despite how low I feel, I have a choice. I have a choice about what I do about it. I have a choice about who I'm going to be in the face of it. And I have a choice about what comes next. So by God, I'm going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push myself to create a future that really empowers me. And I want you to do the same too. If you could do anything for me for my birthday, it would be for you to dream really big today. That would mean everything to me. I love you. Way to go, 52-year-old me. Mel, if you could only see where you end up 2 years later, you'd be so proud of yourself, woman. And you know what? When you follow these same 3 simple steps, you're going to be proud of yourself too. And I want to make sure you're not just listening along or watching this podcast episode on YouTube. I want to make sure you're able to apply these 3 takeaways and what you're learning in this episode to your own life right now. So let's recap what you've learned so far. You've learned about the fresh start effect and how temporal landmarks can trigger a whole new chapter in your life and unlock the intrinsic motivation that's inside you that's going to help you take action. Let's create your fresh start right now. Step 1. You already heard this. Make a wish. Just ask yourself one powerful question. What do I want the next year of my life to look like? Number 2, no matter how you feel, start taking the actions that align with what you want in your life. Stop making the mistake of waiting to feel happy or motivated before you take action. The secret, it's taking action first, because if you can get moving, you can keep moving. And research shows that just a little boost in your mood impacts your productivity for the rest of the day. It impacts your focus. It gives you a little uptick in energy. Taking actions that align with the bigger vision and the future you, it taps into this huge body of research called behavioral activation therapy. Now, you're going to learn a tremendous amount about this therapy modality in future episodes of the Mel Robbins podcast, but here's how I'd summarize it for you. Act like the person you want to become in the future, no matter how you feel in the present moment. Look, I know it sounds simple. Act like the future you. But this is grounded in decades of research, and it works. This is how I've made every single change in my life. Once I figure out what I want to do or the kind of person I want to become, I figure out someone else in the world that's doing it, and I just reverse engineer it. And that's how you create a brick path that leads from where you are right now to where that wish of yours wants to take you. And every morning, wake up, take one action that aligns with what you want or the person that you want to become. And you can consider that action, it represents one brick. And if you keep doing that day by day, brick by brick, action by action, you're going to look up a year from now and you'll realize, oh my God, I just paved a brick path leading to my dreams. What the heck? Mel was right. And step number 3, in making powerful change in your life, find the proof that you can do it. It's all around you. You just need to look for it. Find anyone that has the life that you want or that has made the change that you want to make. The relationship, the career, the body, the family, the friend group. Anytime you see someone who has already made the change you want to make in your life, tell yourself, There's proof. It exists. Use people as evidence that, yes, you can have what you wish for too, if you're willing to work for it. See people as a light on the path to your future self. For years, that was not me. I was the opposite. I did not see other people as lights on my path. I saw people as robbing me of the lights that I wanted. I had this really stingy, jealous, and insecure attitude. If a friend of mine was renovating their kitchen, I would smile, that tight smile that people have when they're faking a smile. And I'd go, oh, it's so pretty. I love the white cabinets. But inside, I was seething with jealousy. And the reason why is because I believed that somebody else's happiness or success somehow was robbing me of mine. It's the opposite. Their beautiful kitchen means if I can work for it, I can have one too. Their amazing relationships means I can create it too. Their success or the business they've built means it's possible for you too. This alone, if you just do this third step, this one mindset flip, it is a complete game changer. Here's how you do it. There is unlimited success, happiness, and fulfillment in the world. You're not in competition with anyone. The only one that can rob you of the success, happiness, and fulfillment that you deserve is you and your excuses and fears and sitting around waiting to feel motivated. We're going to stop that today. Correct? Good. I'm glad you're listening because we're not doing that anymore. You're not going to wait 6 years to get started. You are going to start taking actions that align with what you want now. And when you see other people as evidence of what's possible for you, as you start seeing them not as extinguishing your light, but lighting the path that you're now walking on, holy cow, talk about throwing gasoline on that internal fire of yours. And by the way, don't you ever forget, you are a light on the path for someone else, and you don't even realize it. So think about that for a second. You are just a step or two ahead of someone else. I mean, if you've grieved the loss of a loved one, if you've changed your career, if you've survived heartache, if you've sold a family home, if you've reinvented some aspect of your life, if you've lost weight, if you're able to live with depression, if you were the first in your family to graduate from college, your life experience proves to someone else that it's possible for them too. So you better make sure that as you start chipping away at your own wishes and goals, that you hold that light up a little bit higher for everybody that's behind you. Now, these steps sound super simple. So I'm going to go through them one more time because I want to make sure you get how powerful they are. So let's go back to 52-year-old Mel and let me explain how each one of these steps worked for me back when I was sad and lost 2 years ago. So step number 1, you make a wish. You got to consider that question. What do I want my life to look like? Now, here's the truth. I couldn't answer that question 2 years ago. When I was 52, sitting there crying in the bunk room, I had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't even know how to fix all my problems. And that's okay. You don't have to know the answers because those will come. But I did know I didn't want to stay feeling sad. And that's all I needed to start the change. Because step 2 is, once you know one small thing, I don't want to feel so sad. I don't want to be lost on my birthday. Just take actions that align with that thing that you want. I wanted to be happier. So I just focused on simple things I could do in that day to make me feel a little better. I get it. This isn't rocket science, but it works. But somehow, when you start to apply this stuff, it does feel like rocket science because it does launch you somewhere else. So that day I exercised, I bought myself flowers, I watched some stand-up comedy specials on TV so I would laugh a little. I just forced myself to do those things, to start walking toward what I wanted, which was just to feel a little happier. And look, this stuff doesn't work overnight. It works over time. And so every day I just woke up and I kept making myself do the things that made me feel a little better, even though I didn't feel like it. Simple things, exercising, journaling. And I kept on contemplating that question. What do I want my life to look like? And over time, day after day, brick after brick, as I added in positive forward action, aligned with feeling a little happier, and as I started to let go of things that were bringing me tension or sadness or friction, the answers started to emerge. I didn't want to travel so much for work. I didn't want to miss out on my son's high school the way I missed out on our daughter's high school experience. I wanted to get reconnected at a really deep level with my husband. I wanted to have time to see friends again and do things in the community. I didn't want to feel so damn busy and burnt out. And I didn't want to fall asleep with a to-do list on my mind and wake up every morning panic-stricken because of how much I had to get done. I wanted to simplify my life and get serious about being happier and more content in it. And as you ask yourself the question, what do you want your life to look like? Be patient. As I got clearer about what I wanted, and then I aligned my actions with that new vision, I started acting like the person I wanted to become. Simplifying means saying no. It means asking for help. And I chipped away day by day, and I started getting my mental health in order, slowed down, and I created an entirely different relationship with my husband by jumping into therapy. I also started being more present with my kids. And through all these small changes, I realized something bigger. It was time to sell the house that we had raised our kids in for 26 years outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and create a simpler life in southern Vermont. And as I started to say no and put what mattered to me first, I all of a sudden had more time to do what I really wanted, which is to launch this podcast, because I wanted to forge a deeper connection with you. Brick by brick, I laid a path with my actions, and now here I am. And if I can do it, you can do it. And that's why step number 3 is critical. Look for lights on the path. I looked for other people who had simpler business models, who had relationships, and who were doing the fun things that I wanted to do. And I just let them light the way toward the future I wanted. I kept telling myself, if they can do it, I can do it. And if you don't have anyone in your life like that, someone that lights the way for you, let me be that person. Tell yourself, if Mel Robbins can do it, then I can do it, because it's true. I'm living proof that if I can do it, you can do it. Big change starts with small wishes, like, I want to feel happier. And tiny actions lead to massive transformation over time. Psychologically speaking, those little daily moves forward that I was making, trying to just be a little bit happier, moving toward the person I really wanted to become, it changes what you believe about yourself. Because doing the small things every single day, especially when you don't feel like it, it proves that you do have a choice about what you do and how you feel. And eventually, as you do the small things that make you feel better and better and better, you will feel better and better and better. And as you see yourself taking these little actions, you start seeing yourself taking control. And the momentum, the pride, and the confidence builds inside you. That's what happened to me. And I know the same will be true for you. And I have proof that this works. So yesterday, check this out. I got an email from a woman named Danielle. And guess what she was writing me about? She was writing to tell me about a year ago, she stumbled upon, guess what video? Yeah, you guessed it. The one I made on my 52nd birthday. I mean, come on, what are the odds? I was about to start taping an episode about the same video, and now suddenly I'm getting an email from a stranger telling me, oh, by the way, Mel, I saw that video on your 52nd birthday and I followed the steps in it and now my life has changed. What are the odds? Those are magical. And I always pay attention to that kind of stuff. So I reached out to her. I talked to her on the phone. And now I want you to listen to her read the email she sent to me yesterday. I just love this kind of stuff because it all connects. And before I play it, I want to warn you that this may be triggering for you to hear. Because when Danielle stumbled upon that 52nd birthday video of mine, she was in a way worse place than I was up in that bunk room. She was thinking of ending her life.
Your birthday saved my life. The video you made on your 52nd birthday was the first Mel video I had ever seen. And it was the last day of my life, or it would have been. A couple years previously, I had made a pact with one of my best friends that if either one of us were thinking about suicide, we would call one another and we would talk as long as we needed. And at the end of the talk I had with him the night before, he made me promise him that I would give my life 24 more hours because a day can change everything, is what he said. And the next day, late afternoon, waiting for night to come, YouTube said I should watch your video. And I promised my friend 24 hours more, which I spent largely watching your videos. And I'm still here. And it sounds a little bit even silly, but I remember at one point in the video when she just, she got to the point where she had laid it all out there, how she feels and what's going on, that she said, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy myself some flowers. And I was like, okay, I get that. Like, happiness isn't like a goal that like once you've completed all these things in your life that are wrong with it, then you're allowed to be happy. It's something that you actually have to try to do every day. And you can't just do this one little thing and that can make today better than it was.
I mean, come on now. Don't you just love Danielle? And look, over the past year, Danielle has been slowly chipping away at creating a better life, just like I have for these past 2 years, and just like you're going to do now that you've listened to this episode. See, doing the little things every single day that align with where you're going and who you want to become, that's the secret. It works. The bottom line is you have the power to change your life, period. You have to act like the person you want to become before you feel like that person. And if I can do it, you can do it. Plain and simple. There are things that are locked in your heart and your mind and soul that are calling to you. Stop denying it. There are changes that you want to make. Stop ignoring those changes. The whole point of this episode is to get you to not only believe that change is possible for you, but to start taking the steps to make the change a reality. I want you to claim what you want by the end of this episode. I want you to close your eyes and envision something amazing in this next year of your life, because yes, you can change. And yes, you can take the actions that will make that change a reality. I mean, is it going to happen overnight? Of course not, but it'll change over time. And if you can make today just a little better, guess what? You can make tomorrow a little better. And if you can have a better day, then you can have a better week. And if you can have a better week, you can have a better month. And those months lead ultimately down the path to the life that you envision for yourself. You deserve to be happy. And I believe that you're listening to this episode right now with Mel Robbins because you are meant to. I mean, think you could have picked a million other episodes, but you are on this one right now with me. Why? Because you're supposed to hear this at this exact moment in your life. You needed the reminder that there is something bigger that is meant for you. You got so much amazing stuff to do with this next year of your life. You got dreams to fulfill. You got lives to change. Stop focusing your energy on the stupid crap that weighs you down. It does not matter. Your past does not matter. The things that you're worried about, it doesn't matter. I mean, who cares if they didn't read your text? Who cares if you didn't get that job you applied for? Do you know how many jobs there are out there? It's time to see the bigger picture. It's time to focus on what you want. I know, I get it. It sucks when you get the courage to ask somebody out and they say no, or you work for months trying to close a massive sale and it goes to somebody else. And it's an awful feeling to wake up and have the depression be overwhelming. And you're not going to feel like kicking ass today. You're going to feel like licking your wounds. I got it. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Have a good cry, give yourself a hug, and then dig deep and let Mel Robbins remind you of who you are. There is power inside of you to face this and to make it better. And you know it. In those moments when you feel like you just got punched in the gut, You have power within you. You have the ability to create this fresh start, to close your eyes, to envision what you want instead of surviving through what you have. On those mornings when you wake up with the weight of the world on your shoulders, wake up and get your ass out of bed. Get dressed, get yourself out the door, and do the things that make you feel slightly better. Start acting like the person you want to become instead of the person you are today. Start taking actions that align with what you want in your life. It's only when you start to act before you feel ready that this turns around. I get it. You should have landed the funding. You did deserve the job. It does blow when you don't get into your dream school and your best friend does. But you know what? That's not going to stop you from getting what you want, because you are going to pick yourself back up. You know that this is going to pass. You know that through your actions and your attitude, you can change where you're at. And you know that you can make yourself feel a little bit better no matter what you're facing. And you can't tell me otherwise. Every single day when you wake up, the clock resets, the past expires, and the future, it is yours to create. There is an open road. There is a blank page. There is a wish that you need to turn into a reality. Today is a gift, and you get to decide what you're going to do with that gift. Is it one day or day one? You decide. You decide with the actions you take today. You can change. And today is the day to prove it to yourself. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.